The ship broke through the clouds, and Commander Thelvor stared at the world below. Earth looked green and peaceful, like a jewel floating in the darkness of space. Still no signals, the communications officer reported. His voice carried an edge of nervousness that Thelvor didn't like. No satellites, no radio waves, nothing. Just like the probes told us. Dr. Eurus pressed closer to the window, her 3 eyes wide with excitement. 800 years since they went silent. We're the first to come back and see what happened. This is history, Commander. Thelvor wasn't so sure about that. History had a way of being written in blood, and something about this dead world made his skin crawl. The humans had been so loud once, so aggressive in their broadcasts to the stars. Then one day, they simply stopped. Every signal, every transmission, every light in their cities just went dark. The Velrathi Empire had waited, watched, assumed the humans had destroyed themselves like so many other young species did. But looking at the planet now, Thelvor saw no signs of destruction, no radiation, no scarred cities. Just endless forests and empty oceans. Take us down to the coordinates, he ordered. The place they called Sol. The ship descended through clear skies. Thelvor had studied the old human records, seen pictures of their massive cities with towers of glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Sol had been one of their largest, home to millions of the strange two-legged creatures. When they broke through the final cloud layer, the landing team fell silent. The city was still there, but it was wrong. Towers stood exactly as they had 8 centuries ago, but trees grew around them in impossible patterns. Vines covered buildings without breaking them. The streets were visible but carpeted in perfect grass. Each blade the same height. No rubble, no collapse, no decay. This isn't natural, Lieutenant Koss whispered. Nothing stays this preserved for 800 years. Dr. Eurus was practically vibrating with excitement. Maybe they developed something. Some kind of preservation technology before they disappeared. The ship settled in what had once been a large plaza. Through the windows, Thelvor could see fountains still standing. Statues of humans frozen in metal poses. Everything looked like a museum, carefully maintained, but utterly empty. Full environmental suits, Thelvor commanded. We don't know what killed them. Could still be in the air. The landing ramp lowered with a hiss. Thelvor was the first to step onto Earth's soil. His boots touched grass that felt too soft, too perfect. The air readings showed everything normal, breathable even, but he kept his helmet on. The team spread out slowly. 8 Velrathi, scientists, and soldiers, moving through the ghost of a civilization. Their instruments beeped and clicked, taking readings, recording everything. Commander, look at this, Eurus called. She stood before a massive statue of a human woman holding a child. Both figures stared up at the sky with expressions that might have been hope or fear. No weathering. The metal is perfect. After 800 years of rain and wind, it should show some damage. Thelvor touched the statue's base. Cool metal, smooth as the day it was made. He pulled his hand back quickly. Something felt wrong about it, like touching something alive that was pretending to be dead. They moved deeper into the city. Buildings rose around them like silent sentinels. Through broken windows, Thelvor could see furniture still in place. Papers on desks, cups on tables. Everything abandoned in an instant, but nothing destroyed. It's like they just vanished, Koss said. Like someone snapped their fingers, and every human on the planet disappeared. Or they left, Eurus suggested. Maybe they achieved faster than light travel. Maybe they're out there somewhere, among the stars. Thelvor didn't believe that. Species didn't just leave their homeworld behind. All of them. All at once. And they certainly didn't leave everything so perfectly preserved. As the sun began to set, painting the empty city in shades of orange and red, Thelvor ordered the team to set up camp inside one of the buildings. They chose what human records indicated had been a government structure, with thick walls and multiple floors. Inside, the building was just as pristine as the outside. Human writing covered signs on the walls, directions to rooms and offices. The power was dead, so they used their own lights, casting long shadows through empty hallways. "I'll take first watch," Thelvor said. Something about this place demanded vigilance. As night fell, the team settled in a large room that might have been a conference hall. They ate rations and spoke in quiet voices, as if afraid to disturb whatever silence held this place. Dr. Eurus couldn't stop examining everything. She ran her instruments over the walls, the furniture, the strange human devices that lay scattered about. This technology, it's more advanced than the records suggested. Look at this computing device. The materials alone shouldn't exist for another century according to our development models. Thelvor watched her work and tried to ignore the feeling crawling up his spine, the feeling that they weren't alone, that somewhere in the darkness beyond their lights, something was watching. He told himself it was foolish. The planet was dead, the humans were gone. But when he looked out the window at the city bathed in moonlight, he could have sworn he saw a figure standing on a distant rooftop, human-shaped, perfectly still. He blinked, and it was gone. "Get some rest," he told the team, his voice rougher than he intended. "Tomorrow we explore the underground sections. That's where we'll find answers." As the others settled down to sleep, Thelvor stood watch by the window. The city remained silent and still, but he couldn't shake the certainty that had settled into his bones. They were being watched, and whatever was watching them had been waiting a very long time. Morning came with mist rolling through the empty streets. Thelvor hadn't slept. Every shadow had seemed to move. Every sound had echoed too perfectly through the dead city. But dawn brought no attacks, no dangers. Just the same eerie silence. "The entrance should be 3 blocks north, Dr. Eurus said, checking her tablet against old human maps. Records show a massive underground facility beneath the city. Transportation tunnels, power stations, data centers. The team moved through streets where grass grew between perfect stones. Lieutenant Koss kept his weapon ready, but there was nothing to shoot at. Just empty buildings and that constant feeling of being observed. They found the entrance half hidden by flowering vines. A massive door of metal and glass, and when Wyrus touched the panel beside it, lights flickered to life. "It still has power," she breathed. "After 800 years, it still has power." The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing stairs descending into darkness. Emergency lights activated as they entered, creating a path of pale blue illumination that stretched down and down. Thelvor's instruments showed clean air, stable temperature, and energy readings that made no sense. "This place is operating at nearly full capacity. How is that possible?" "This, maybe fusion reactors," Eurus suggested. "Humans were working on stable fusion before they disappeared. If they succeeded, a reactor could run for thousands of years without maintenance." They descended for what felt like hours. The stairs finally opened into a massive underground plaza. The space was huge, easily 100 meters across, with tunnels branching off in every direction. And everywhere, everything still worked. Screens on the walls flickered with information in human writing. Lights hummed overhead. The air circulation system breathed like a living thing. "This isn't abandoned," Koss said, his voice tight. Eurus was already at one of the computer terminals, her fingers dancing across the interface. "I can access their databases. The language is translating automatically." Oh, this is incredible. Records, journals, technical specifications, everything." "What do they say?" Thelvor demanded. "What happened to them?" Eurus's eyes scanned the screen, growing wider with each passing second. "There was an event. They called it the Ascension. Here, a video log." She activated the screen. A human face appeared. Female, with dark hair and tired eyes. She spoke in her native language, but the computer provided translation. "This is Dr. Park Unji, Final log entry. The transition begins tomorrow. The others have already gone ahead, and the readings are beyond anything we predicted. We're not dying. We're becoming something else, something more. The hardest part is leaving the world behind, but we've made arrangements. Earth will be preserved. This will be our monument and our test. If others come, they'll see what we left behind. They'll understand what we chose. The image flickered and died. The team stood in silence. Finally, Koss spoke. What does that mean? What did they become? Before anyone could answer, the lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. But in that moment of darkness, Thelvor had seen something. A figure, human-shaped, standing at the far end of the plaza. When the red lights came on, it was gone. Did anyone else see that? He asked. See what? Koss replied, but his voice was shaking. They moved deeper into the facility, following the main corridor. More screens showed more logs. Humans talking about consciousness transfer, about quantum existence, about stepping beyond physical limitations. The words made less and less sense the more Thelvor read them. Then Eurus found the chamber. It was circular, vast, with strange machines lining the walls. In the center stood a platform, and floating above it, somehow defying gravity, was a sphere of dark material that seemed to drink in light. What is that? The sphere pulsed, once, like a heartbeat. Eurus stepped closer. Instruments raised. The energy readings are impossible. It's generating power, but also consuming it, creating some kind of field that extends throughout the entire facility, maybe throughout the entire city. Koss moved to the left, examining the wall machines. He reached out to touch one. Lieutenant, don't, Thelvor started, but Koss had already made contact. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lieutenant's eyes went wide, and he stumbled backward. Gasping, I saw them, he choked out. I saw the humans. They're here. They're all around us. They're watching. What are you talking about? Thelvor grabbed his shoulder. Koss, report. But the lieutenant was staring at something only he could see. He raised a shaking hand, pointing at empty air beside Thelvor. He's right there. Can't you see him? Dark hair. Young face. He's looking right at you, Commander. Thelvor spun around. Nothing. Just empty air and the red emergency lights. Koss began backing away, his eyes fixed on something invisible to the others. There's more. A woman now. She's smiling. Why is she smiling? Why? He turned and ran, disappearing into one of the side tunnels before anyone could stop him. After him, Thelvor ordered, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew it was useless. The tunnels branched in dozens of directions. Koss could be anywhere. They searched for an hour, calling out, their voices echoing strangely through the underground complex. The facility seemed to go on forever, level after level, chamber after chamber, all perfectly maintained, all humming with power. Finally, they returned to the central plaza. Thelvor was about to order a return to the ship when Eurus called out, Commander, you need to see this. She stood before a large display screen. On it, in a dozen different languages including Velrothi, was a simple message. 3 lines of text that made Thelvor's blood run cold. We're still here. You shouldn't have come back. But now that you have, we should talk. As Thelvor read the words, the lights in the facility brightened. Red became white. The hum of power grew louder, and in the reflection of the screen, he could finally see them. Dozens of human figures standing behind the team. Translucent, flickering like bad holograms, but unmistakably there, unmistakably real, unmistakably waiting. Dr. Wyrus turned slowly, and when she saw them, she made a sound between a gasp and a scream. One of the figures stepped forward. A young man with dark hair and eyes that seemed too deep, too aware. His lips moved, And his voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Welcome to Earth," he said. "We've been expecting you." The young man with dark hair smiled, and Thelvor felt his weapons become very heavy in his hands. What good were guns against ghosts? "My name is Hyun," the figure said. His form flickered, sometimes solid enough to cast a shadow, sometimes transparent as air. "Please don't be afraid. We mean you no harm." "No harm?" Thelvor's voice came out as a growl. "You've taken one of my men. Where is Lieutenant Koss?" "One." As if summoned by his name, Koss stumbled out of a side tunnel. But something was wrong with him. He walked with strange confidence, his eyes unfocused, and when he spoke, the words came in fluid Korean. Eurus's translator device worked frantically. He's speaking their language. He's saying he's seen wonders beyond imagination. That the humans showed him what they are now. Koss blinked. And suddenly he was speaking Velrathi again. "Commander, they're everywhere. Not just here, but in the walls, in the ground, in the air itself. They didn't leave Earth. They became part of it." A woman materialized beside Hyun. She appeared younger, with kind eyes and a sad smile. "My name is Ji-won. What Koss says is true. We underwent a transformation 8 centuries ago. We shed our physical bodies and merged our consciousness with the quantum structure of our world." Dr. Wyrus stepped forward, despite Thelvor's restraining hand. The scientist in her overcame the fear. "That's impossible. Consciousness requires a physical substrate. You can't just exist as pure thought." "We don't exist as pure thought," Hyun replied. "We exist as patterns woven into the fabric of space-time itself. Every atom of this planet is part of our collective consciousness. The Earth is our body now. We are Earth." More figures appeared, filling the underground plaza. Dozens became hundreds, all translucent, all watching with those 2 knowing eyes. And among them, an older man stepped forward. He looked different from the others, more solid somehow, more real. "I am Do-yun," he said. His voice carried weight and authority. "I speak for the Ascended Council. We have been watching your species for a very long time. I am. Let's the way. I'm on time." "Watching us," Thelvor demanded. "Why didn't you reveal yourselves? Why let us think you were dead?" Do-yun's expression was unreadable. "Because we wanted to see what you would become without our interference. When we disappeared, the Velrathi were barely reaching their own moon. We were curious. Would you destroy yourselves as you nearly did during your expansion wars? Would you learn cooperation? Would you develop wisdom along with technology?" The implication hit Thelvor like a physical blow. "You've been observing us for 800 years, watching our entire civilization develop. Every war, every discovery, every step into space." "Yes," Do-yun said simply. "And we are disappointed." Eurus made a sound of protest. "Disappointed? The Velrathi Empire spans 40 systems. We've brought peace and order to a dozen species. We've achieved things our ancestors could only dream of." Ji-won's sad smile deepened. "You've conquered 12 species and absorbed them into your empire. Not through cooperation, but through force. You expand like a plague, consuming worlds and calling it progress." "That's not fair," Koss said. But his voice was weak. Whatever the humans had shown him underground had shaken his certainty. Hyun moved closer, and Thelvor resisted the urge to step back. "Let us show you what we are. Let us show you what humanity became, so you understand why we reveal ourselves now." Before Thelvor could respond, the world changed. The underground plaza dissolved. Suddenly they stood in space, looking down at Earth. But the planet was different. Lines of light crisscrossed its surface, too geometric to be natural. The oceans glowed faintly with energy. And the moon, the pale sphere that orbited Earth, was covered in structures too small to see but clearly artificial. This is Earth as it truly is. Doyun's voice echoed through the void. What you see from orbit is an illusion. A carefully maintained image of our old world. The reality is this. The view shifted. Now they could see through the illusion. Earth wasn't a planet anymore. It was a machine, a vast network of quantum processors disguised as nature. Every tree held computational power beyond the Velrathi's most advanced systems. Every drop of water in the ocean was part of a massive data network. The entire world was one enormous computer, and the humans were the programs running on it. We didn't leave our world to explore the stars, Hyun explained. We brought the universe to us. We can perceive all of space-time simultaneously. We exist in multiple dimensions at once. Physical distance means nothing when you can fold space with a thought. The view shifted again. Now they saw distant star systems, ones Thelvor recognized. Velrathi colonies. But surrounding them, invisible to normal sensors, were structures. Human structures. Vast arrays of machinery that harvested energy directly from stars. You've been in our territory, Thelvor whispered. All this time, you've been everywhere, and we never knew. We didn't hide from you, Jiwan said gently. You simply weren't looking in the right places. We exist in the quantum foam beneath reality. We manipulate dark matter and dark energy. Your sensors read us as background radiation. Doyun's form solidified until he looked almost physical. Do you understand now? We could have stopped your expansion at any time. We could have revealed ourselves, guided you, even ruled you. We chose not to. We chose to watch and hope you would find a better path. Then why reveal yourselves now? Eurus asked. She was recording everything. Her scientific mind still functioning despite the impossibility of what they were seeing. The view returned to the underground plaza. The hundreds of human forms pressed closer, and Thelvor felt their attention like physical weight. Because you came here planning conquest, Doyun said. His voice was no longer gentle. Your empire has marked Earth for colonization. Your council has already divided our solar system into mining sectors. You looked at our silence and saw opportunity. Thelvor wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. The mission briefing had been clear. Earth was dead. Earth was resources. Earth was theirs for the taking. That, Hyun said, his flickering form suddenly sharp and hard as diamond. The ground beneath them trembled. The lights in the facility blazed bright enough to hurt, and Thelvor realized with creeping horror that the humans weren't threatening them. They were just beginning to wake up. You wanted to know what happened to us, Jiwan said, her voice echoing with power. Now, you'll understand. We didn't disappear. We didn't die. We evolved beyond your ability to perceive us. And now that you've disturbed our home, you'll see what humanity truly became. The walls of the underground chamber began to change, revealing machinery that hadn't been there before. Or perhaps it had always been there, just invisible to their eyes. Tomorrow, Doyun promised, we will show you the full extent of our capabilities. Tonight, you should rest. You'll need your strength for what comes next. The human forms faded away, leaving the team alone in the humming facility. But Thelvor knew they weren't really alone. They would never be alone on Earth again. The humans were the planet, and the planet was watching. Thelvor didn't sleep that night. How could he? Knowing that every atom around him was part of a vast alien intelligence. He stood by a window overlooking the underground plaza, watching shadows that might have been human forms flickering at the edge of his vision. When morning came, it came with a message from the ship in orbit. The communication was broken, full of static, and the voice of his second officer carried pure panic. Commander, something's wrong. All our systems just shut down. Power, weapons, life support. Everything went dark for exactly 10 seconds. When they came back online, There was a woman standing on the bridge. A human woman. She smiled at us, and then disappeared. Sir, how did she get through our shields? How did she get onto a ship in orbit? Before Thelvor could respond, Minji appeared beside him. She wore the face of a young human woman, but her eyes held something ancient and dangerous. Her form didn't flicker like the others. She stood solid and real, as if she'd never stopped being physical. That was me, she said simply. I wanted to introduce myself to your crew. They seemed surprised. Dr. Eurus dropped her equipment. Lieutenant Koss raised his weapon, though his hands shook. Thelvor forced himself to stay calm, even as his mind screamed at the impossibility of what he'd just heard. You were in orbit? And down here? At the same time? Minji smiled, and it wasn't a kind expression. I'm everywhere, on Earth, and in near-Earth space simultaneously. Did you think consciousness bound to physical form was the only way to exist? We are patterns of information. We can manifest anywhere our network extends, and our network extends very far indeed. Another form materialized, a man with glasses and a thoughtful expression. I'm Tae-jin, he said. I was a scientist before the ascension, and I remain one after. Let me explain what you're dealing with, so there's no confusion. He gestured, and the air filled with holographic displays. Star charts, technical schematics, mathematical formulas that hurt to look at. 800 years ago, humanity faced a choice. We could expand outward into space, colonizing worlds and spreading across the galaxy like your empire does. Or we could expand inward, unlocking the full potential of consciousness itself. We chose the latter. The displays shifted, showing the transformation. Humans entering the strange machines in the underground facility, their bodies dissolving into streams of light, that light being absorbed into the quantum structure of the planet. We converted Earth into a computational substrate more advanced than anything you can imagine. Every atom is a processor. Every quantum interaction is a calculation. The entire planet thinks billions of times faster than your most advanced computers. Tae-jin pointed upward, though they were underground and couldn't see the sky. The moon is no longer a natural satellite. We converted it over the course of 2 centuries. It's now a massive quantum computing array, linked to Earth's network. Together, they give us processing power equivalent to your entire empire's computing capacity, multiplied by a factor of several trillion. Thelvor felt his legs go weak. Because you need to understand what you're facing, Minji said. She moved closer, and now Thelvor could see that she cast no shadow. You need to understand that if we wanted to, we could erase your empire from existence. That's impossible, Eurus protested weakly. Even with advanced technology, you're just one system. We have 40 systems, hundreds of worlds, trillions of citizens. Tae-jin adjusted his glasses. The gesture was so human, so normal, that it made what he said next even more terrifying. Let me show you what's possible. When you master the fundamental forces of reality. The underground chamber dissolved. They stood in space again, but this time they could see further. Stars stretched out in all directions, including suns that Thelvor recognized. That one was Velrath Prime, the homeworld. That cluster was the mining colonies in the outer reach. We can manipulate space-time itself, Tae-jin explained. His voice was calm, like a teacher giving a lecture. Watch. A distant star began to dim, not slowly, but instantly, as if someone had thrown a switch. The light that should have taken years to reach them vanished in seconds. We just placed a Dyson sphere around that star, Tae-jin said. From our network on Earth, reaching across 200 light-years, we deployed a structure that will harvest 90% of that sun's energy. We did it in 3 seconds. The star brightened again as the sphere dissolved. Eurus was crying now, tears of frustration and broken understanding streaming down her face. Everything she knew about physics, about what was possible, had just been shattered. That's nothing, Minji said. Her form shifted, becoming sharper, more angular. Let me show you what combat class Ascended can do. She held out her hand. Koss's rifle floated into it, pulled by invisible force. Minji looked at the weapon with interest, then closed her hand. The rifle came apart, piece by piece, each component separating and floating in the air. Hundreds of parts, suspended by nothing but her will. Molecular manipulation, she said. Every atom, I can see. Every bond, I can break or remake. Watch. The parts began to reform, but not into a rifle. The metal flowed like water, reshaping itself. In seconds, she'd turned the weapon into a perfect sculpture of a flower, each petal thin enough to be transparent. I can do this to anything, Minji said softly. Ships, weapons, buildings, bodies. She let the metal flower fall to the ground. We could dismantle your entire fleet, molecule by molecule, and they couldn't stop us. Your shields might stop lasers and missiles, but they can't stop us from simply unmaking the atoms your ships are built from. Hyun appeared then, his form gentle compared to Minji's sharp edges. She's trying to scare you, and I apologize for that. But she's not wrong about our capabilities. We could destroy you, but we don't want to. We're showing you this, so you understand why you must listen to what comes next. Doyun manifested in the center of the group, and when he appeared, all the other humans seemed to fade slightly, as if giving him the floor. We have watched your empire grow. We've seen your wars of conquest, your forced assimilations, your treatment of species you consider inferior. We've debated among ourselves for decades about whether to intervene. And now? Thelvor asked. His voice sounded dead even to his own ears. What was the point of pride or anger when facing beings who could unmake reality with a thought? Now you've come to our home planning to strip mine our solar system, Doyun said. That forces our hand. We cannot allow it. But more than that, we've decided that the galaxy needs stewards, not conquerors. And we're disappointed that we need to be those stewards. Jiwon appeared beside Doyun, her expression sad. We wanted to let you develop naturally. We wanted to see if you could find wisdom on your own. But you've proven that you can't be trusted with the power you're accumulating. So what happens now? Eurus asked. You destroy us? Reset our civilization? Make us your slaves? No, Doyun said firmly. We offer you a choice. Tomorrow, we will reveal ourselves to your empire. We will establish boundaries that cannot be crossed and rules that must be followed. In exchange, we will share some of our knowledge. We will help you grow, but we will also watch you. And if you threaten others, we will stop you. Minji's smile returned. Think of us as the adults in the room. Your children playing with weapons you don't understand. We're not here to punish you, but we won't let you hurt yourselves or others anymore. The view dissolved. They stood again in the underground plaza. The human forms surrounded them. Hundreds of faces from every age and background, all wearing expressions of sad determination. Go back to your ship, Hyun said gently. Tell your people what you've seen. Tomorrow, the galaxy changes. Humanity is no longer hiding. We're coming home. They returned to the ship in silence. What was there to say? How do you process the fact that your entire civilization was being watched by beings who could end it with a thought? The crew in orbit looked haunted, still shaken by Minji's impossible visit. Set course for Velrath Prime, Thelvor ordered. But before the pilot could engage the engines, the view screen flickered to life. Hundreds of human faces appeared, filling the screen. Not recordings, but live feeds. They stood in what looked like an enormous chamber, circular and vast, with walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. At the center stood a figure that made all the others seem small by comparison. Sionwoo appeared as an old man, but his eyes held the weight of centuries. When he spoke, his voice came through every speaker on the ship. Gentle, but impossible to ignore. Before you leave, you should see this. You should understand how we make our decisions. The view expanded. Thelvor realized they were witnessing something private, something sacred, a council of humanity, debating their fate. The question before us, Sionwu said to the assembled forms, is what to do with the Velrothi Empire. They've discovered us. They came planning conquest. The old rules no longer apply. We must decide how to proceed. A faction of humans stepped forward, their forms sharp and aggressive. Make it clear that humanity is the apex species in this region of space. Create a boundary enforced by fear. It's the only language conquerors understand. No, Ji-won protested, moving to stand opposite Minji. Her faction looked softer, more human despite their transcendent nature. Fear breeds resentment, and resentment breeds conflict. We should guide them, not rule them. Share knowledge slowly. Help them evolve beyond their aggressive phase. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we ascended. They deserve the same chance we had. 2. A third faction emerged, led by a woman who wore the face of middle age and spoke with weary wisdom. Isolation. That was our original plan. Let them develop naturally. If they threaten Earth, we intervene. Otherwise, we remain hidden. This revelation changes nothing except their knowledge of our existence. The debate raged on. Thelvor watched, fascinated despite his fear. The humans weren't unified. They had factions, disagreements, different philosophies about their role in the galaxy. They were beings of godlike power, but they were still human enough to argue about what was right. Hyun stepped into the center of the chamber. His voice was young but clear. We keep debating isolation versus intervention, but we're missing the point. The Velrothi found us. The secret is out. In a year, maybe less, every species in the region will know. Earth isn't dead. We can't put this back in the box. Then what do you suggest? Sionwu asked. Honesty, Hyun said simply. We reveal ourselves fully. We show the galaxy what we are and what we can do. We establish the boundary, Minji suggests. But with Ji-won's guidance behind it, we make it clear that Earth and our solar system are forbidden territory, but in exchange, we offer help. Technology, knowledge, protection from threats, beyond their ability to handle. Taejin stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. That's a massive responsibility. We'd be setting ourselves up as guardians of this entire region of space. We already are, Ji-won said softly. We've been watching for 800 years. We've prevented 3 extinction-level events that the Velrothi don't even know about. We've been guardians by inaction. Hyun is right. It's time to be guardians by choice. You can exer. Is video. Doyun raised his hand, and the chamber fell silent. Let's vote. Those in favor of Hyun's proposal, manifest your agreement. Lights began to appear throughout the vast chamber. Not hundreds, but thousands, millions. Every human consciousness that wanted a voice. Showing their choice, the lights filled the space like stars, and slowly, a majority formed. The decision is made, Sionwu declared. We reveal ourselves. We establish the boundary. We offer guidance. And we watch. Always. To ensure that no species threatens another with extinction. The view shifted back to Sionwu's face. He looked directly at Thelvor through the screen. You heard our debate. You see that we're not monsters or tyrants. We're simply humans who chose a different path. Now you must choose yours. What choice do we have? Thelvor asked bitterly. You've made it clear we can't fight you. You can choose how you react to this revelation. Doyun said, appearing beside Sionwu. You can see us as oppressors and harbor resentment, or you can see us as teachers and accept the help we offer. The choice will shape the next 1,000 years of your civilization. Dr. Eurus stood up, her scientific curiosity finally overcoming her fear. What kind of help? What would you share with us? Jiwon materialized on the ship's bridge, making several crew members jump. She held something that looked like a seed, glowing faintly with internal light. This contains knowledge about quantum computing, advanced materials, and clean energy generation. Nothing that would let you match our power, but enough to improve your quality of life dramatically. Enough to show you a path forward that doesn't require conquest. She handed the seed to Eurus, who took it with trembling hands. Over the next century, we'll share more, Jiwon continued. But carefully. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. You'll grow at the pace you can handle. Not faster. Hyun appeared next to her. And we'll be watching. Not as enemies, but as older siblings. I suppose. We'll step in, if you threaten yourselves, or others, but we'll also celebrate your achievements, and mourn your losses. We're part of this galaxy too. Even if we chose to stay home. Thelvor looked at his crew, seeing his own uncertainty reflected in their faces. Finally, he asked the question that had been burning in his mind. Why did you do it? Why choose transcendence over exploration? Humans were ambitious. Everything in your records shows a species desperate to reach the stars. Hyun smiled, and it was the first genuinely happy expression Thelvor had seen from any of them. We were desperate to reach the stars. But then we realized something. We asked ourselves, what's the point of spreading to 1,000 worlds if we're still the same, limited, short-lived, conflicted beings we always were? What's the point of conquering space if we can't conquer our own limitations? So we chose to evolve first, Jiwon added. To become beings capable of handling the responsibility that comes with cosmic power. We spent 800 years learning wisdom before we started interfering in galactic affairs. It's a lesson every species needs to learn eventually. Seonwoo's voice echoed through the ship one last time. Return to your people, Commander Thelvor. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them humanity didn't die. We were just sleeping. And now, because you woke us, things are going to change. The view screen went dark. But before it did, Hyun spoke one more time, his voice gentle and sad and full of hope, all at once. We were like you once, afraid and aggressive and reaching for power because we thought it would keep us safe. But we found something better. We found each other, joined in a way that transcends physical separation. We found peace, not through conquest, but through transformation. That path is open to you too, if you choose it. But first, you need to stop trying to own the galaxy and start trying to understand it. The connection ended. The Velrothi ship sat in orbit around Earth, engines quiet, crew stunned into silence. After a long moment, Thelvor stood. Take us home, he said. We have a message to deliver. As the ship pulled away from Earth, Thelvor looked back at the planet one last time. It looked peaceful and green, just like it had when they arrived. But now he knew the truth. Every tree, every ocean, every particle of air was part of something vast and ancient and powerful beyond understanding. Humanity hadn't left Earth. They'd become it. And from their home in the solar system where it all began, they would watch the galaxy and guide it and protect it, whether the galaxy wanted them to or not. 3 months later, statues began appearing in cities across the Velrothi Empire. Beautiful sculptures of human forms, appearing overnight with no explanation. Some people saw them as gifts, others saw them as warnings. Everyone agreed on one thing. The humans were making it clear they could go anywhere, anytime, unseen until they chose to reveal themselves. The galaxy had new guardians, and the age of unchecked expansion was over. Humanity was home, and they weren't alone anymore.